That rock looked completely worthless. Then it cracked open. Inside was a glowing crystal formation worth more than a luxury car. Some beach stones hide fire opals that look molten under light. Others contain sapphire crystals buried beneath mud and volcanic rock. One of them revealed an emerald-filled chamber that looked almost impossible to be natural. And the strangest part? Several of these discoveries were nearly thrown away before anyone realized what was actually hidden inside. Starting with a dark volcanic stone that concealed a green gemstone most people would never notice. Number 10. Peridot, the green fire hidden in volcanic beach rock. Along certain volcanic coastlines, some of the most ordinary-looking beach rocks carry a secret most people would never suspect. They are dark, rough, weather-beaten, and easy to ignore. To an untrained eye, they look like broken pieces of old lava washed smooth by waves. But inside some of these dull stones, nature can hide flashes of green peridot, a gemstone born from heat, pressure, and ancient volcanic force. Peridot is not the kind of gemstone that announces itself from the outside. Unlike a polished emerald or sapphire in a jewelry case, rough peridot can look almost disappointing at first. It may appear trapped inside a dark basalt-like host rock mixed with mineral stains, sea-worn edges, and a surface that gives away almost nothing. That is exactly what makes it dangerous to overlook. The value is not sitting on the surface. It is buried inside the stone, waiting for the right cut, the right angle, and the right eye. The story becomes fascinating because peridot is connected to the deep earth. Many crystals form in calmer geological environments, but peridot often comes from extreme volcanic origins. In some cases, the green crystals are carried upward inside molten rock, then released into coastal areas as the stone breaks down over time. A beach walker might see only a dark pebble. A gem expert sees a clue: unusual weight, tiny green flashes, or a texture that suggests something formed far below the surface. Once opened or carefully examined, the transformation can be stunning. A rock that looked worthless suddenly reveals bright olive-green crystals, sometimes glowing with a warm golden undertone. That color is what gives peridot its charm. It does not look cold or artificial. It looks alive, like sunlight trapped inside volcanic stone. Peridot is not always worth millions, and that is important. But high-quality crystals with strong color, clarity, and size can become surprisingly valuable, especially when cut into fine gemstones. More importantly, peridot sets the perfect tone for this entire countdown. It proves that a beach rock does not need to sparkle on the outside to matter. Sometimes the first mistake is assuming an ugly stone is empty, and on beaches shaped by ancient fire, that mistake can hide a green fortune beneath the surface. Number 9. Garnet, the damaged beach stone that hid deep red crystals. At first glance, the stone looked ruined. Its surface was dark, fractured, and marked with reddish streaks that resembled rust or mineral decay. The kind of beach rock most people would kick aside without hesitation. Along colder shorelines and gravel-heavy coastal areas, stones like this appear everywhere, chipped, cracked, and worn down by years of violent surf. Nothing about them suggests rarity. In fact, the rougher they look, the less attention they usually receive. But in certain cases, those broken sections are not damage at all. They are garnets. Unlike gemstones that reveal themselves through obvious sparkle, garnets often hide inside dense metamorphic rock, forming deep within earth under extreme pressure and heat. In rough form, they can appear strangely dull. Some are nearly black until light reaches the crystal properly. Others hide beneath layers of stone so ordinary-looking that even experienced collectors can miss them at first. That is what makes beach discoveries involving garnet so fascinating. The clue is often incredibly subtle: a strange angular fracture, a deep wine-colored reflection underwater, tiny geometric crystal faces peeking through cracked stone. To most people, those details mean nothing. To a trained eye, they suggest a completely different story buried inside the rock. When the outer layer is cut or broken away, the transformation can feel almost surgical. What looked like corrosion suddenly reveals tightly packed, dark red crystals glowing beneath the surface. Some garnets appear blood red under direct sunlight. Others shift toward rich crimson or burnt orange depending on the mineral composition. The effect is especially dramatic when the surrounding host rock remains rough and ugly, creating a sharp contrast between exterior and interior. Historically, garnets were carried by traders, explorers, and even ancient warriors, valued not only for beauty but for durability. Yet rough garnet-bearing stones rarely look valuable in natural form. That disconnect is part of the reason so many are ignored along beaches and rocky shorelines around the world. And that may be the strangest part of all. A cracked stone usually signals weakness, damage, something discarded by nature. But with garnet, the fractures can become the very thing that reveals hidden value. Sometimes the broken part of a rock is exactly where the treasure begins to appear. Number 8. Fire Opal. The dull stone that suddenly burst into color. Nothing about the stone looked extraordinary while it was wet. Scattered among dark coastal gravel and ordinary volcanic debris, it blended into the shoreline almost perfectly. Its surface was cloudy, uneven, and strangely lifeless under gray light. In some places, it even resembled a piece of faded construction material more than a natural mineral. Most beachgoers would never stop to examine it closely. Even collectors sometimes overlook rough fire opal when it remains trapped inside its host rock. Then the stone was cut open. Suddenly, the interior ignited with flashes of orange, red, and molten gold. Unlike many gemstones that rely on clarity or sparkle, fire opal creates impact through internal glow. The color seems suspended beneath the surface rather than sitting on top of it. In high-quality specimens, the light appears to move through the stone almost like liquid flame. That effect becomes even more dramatic when the exterior gives absolutely no warning about what is hidden inside. And that contrast is what makes rough fire opal discoveries so addictive to gemstone hunters. The outer shell can look dull enough to be discarded without a second thought. Rough opal-bearing rocks often appear chalky, cracked, or covered with volcanic residue. But experienced gem cutters know that tiny hints sometimes reveal a hidden interior, a faint translucent edge, an unusual texture after water hits the surface, or small flashes visible only under direct sunlight for a fraction of a second. Those tiny clues can lead to astonishing reveals. In volcanic regions connected to ancient geothermal activity, fire opal forms when silica-rich water fills cracks inside rock over extremely long periods of time. As the water evaporates, layers begin forming deep within the stone. The process is slow, unpredictable, and impossible to judge perfectly from the outside. That uncertainty is part of the fascination. A rough piece may contain almost nothing, or a glowing interior valuable enough to completely transform the stone's worth. Collectors especially prize fire opals with strong saturation and natural internal brightness. Some specimens seem to burn from within even in low light, making them look almost unreal when polished correctly. But perhaps the most captivating part is how suddenly the transformation happens. One moment the rock appears dead. The next, it looks like a pocket of trapped fire pulled straight from inside the earth itself. And standing on a quiet beach, surrounded by hundreds of ordinary stones, that possibility changes the way every dark rock begins to look. Number 7. Chrysoprase. The stone people nearly threw away. The rock did not look valuable enough to keep. Covered in pale dust and uneven mineral stains, it resembled the kind of stone that collects in forgotten piles near the edge of a beach or quarry road. Its color was muddy, inconsistent, and almost dull under dry light. In some cases, rough chrysoprase-bearing stone can even resemble weathered concrete more than a gemstone source. That is part of the reason it has been ignored and accidentally discarded far more often than most people realize. Because chrysoprase hides its beauty badly. Unlike transparent gems that immediately catch attention, chrysoprase reveals itself slowly. The vivid green color that collectors prize is often buried beneath rough outer layers, trapped inside ordinary-looking host rock that gives almost no indication of what is waiting underneath. Only after cutting, polishing, or even wetting the surface does the transformation begin to appear. And when it does, the change can be dramatic. High-quality chrysoprase glows with a soft green intensity that almost looks unnatural under sunlight. Some pieces resemble polished jade at first glance, while others display an apple-green color so rich that early traders once confused them with far more expensive stones. Yet before polishing, many specimens appear completely forgettable, the exact kind of rock someone would toss aside without hesitation while searching for something more obvious. That irony has followed chrysoprase throughout gemstone history. In several mining regions connected to nickel-rich geological environments, rough material was overlooked for years because nobody expected such striking color to emerge from such unattractive stone. Experienced gem cutters eventually learned that subtle clues mattered. Faint green shadows beneath fractures, unusual waxy texture, or a slight glow appearing only after the rock became wet. To most people, those details meant nothing. To gemstone hunters, they became signs that something hidden might still survive inside. What makes chrysoprase especially fascinating in this countdown is the emotional side of the discovery. Some gemstones look rare immediately. Chrysoprase often looks unwanted first. That creates a completely different type of tension. Instead of wondering whether a stone is valuable, the real question becomes how close it came to being lost forever. And along beaches filled with gray rock and broken mineral fragments, that possibility feels strangely unsettling. Because somewhere among thousands of discarded stones, a quiet green fortune may already have been picked up once, looked at briefly, and thrown away by mistake. Number 6. Crystal agate, the beach rock that looked impossible inside. From the outside, the stone felt unusually heavy for its size. Its surface was rounded by years of wave erosion, with faded gray layers wrapping around it like hardened mud. Nothing sparkled, nothing hinted at rarity. In fact, stones like this are often collected by children simply because they feel smooth in the hand before being tossed back onto the beach a few seconds later. But some agate-bearing rocks carry a secret hidden behind those plain outer bands. When split open, they can reveal crystal chambers so intricate that they almost appear artificial, as if the inside had been carved by hand rather than formed naturally beneath Earth's surface. That moment of discovery is one of the most visually addictive experiences in gemstone collecting. The exterior remains dull, silent, and ordinary. Then the rock cracks apart, exposing a hollow interior lined with glittering quartz crystals, layered mineral rings, and translucent formations that resemble frozen architecture. Some crystal agates contain deep violet tones. Others reveal smoky gray interiors or honey-colored crystal growth radiating outward from the center. Under direct light, the chambers can seem to glow from within. And perhaps the strangest part is that no two interiors ever form exactly the same way. Agates begin forming inside cavities created by volcanic activity millions of years ago. Mineral-rich water slowly enters empty spaces inside cooling rock, depositing microscopic layers over extremely long periods of time. In some cases, crystals eventually begin growing inside the hollow center itself. The process is slow, chaotic, and impossible to predict perfectly from the outside. That unpredictability changes the psychology of the discovery. With many gemstones, people search for visible clues. Crystal agates are different. The true reward stays completely hidden until the stone is opened. A rough beach rock can sit unnoticed for decades while carrying a crystal structure inside that looks more like a museum display than something shaped by nature. Collectors often describe the experience almost like opening a time capsule from another world. The rough exterior creates low expectations, which makes the reveal feel far more dramatic once the interior appears. Some specimens are polished only partially, leaving half the stone untouched so viewers can see the brutal contrast between the ordinary shell and the extraordinary crystal core hidden inside. That contrast is exactly what makes crystal agates unforgettable, because unlike gemstones that simply look expensive, these stones create a different reaction entirely. They force people to stare at something outwardly worthless and wonder how nature managed to hide an entire crystal universe where nobody thought to look. Number 5. Sapphire, the mud-covered stone found completely by accident. The discovery almost never happened. There was no treasure hunt, No gemstone expedition, no expert searching the shoreline with specialized equipment. The stone was picked up for a reason so ordinary that it would barely seem important at the time: unusual weight, smooth texture, or simply curiosity during a walk near the water. And yet, beneath the mud-covered surface of that rough stone sat one of the world's most valuable gemstones. Sapphire. What makes sapphire discoveries along rivers and coastal regions so fascinating is how easily rough specimens disguise themselves. Before cutting and polishing, sapphire-bearing stones rarely resemble the polished blue gems people recognize from museums or jewelry stores. In natural form, they can appear cloudy, uneven, and trapped inside dull mineral material that hides almost all of their potential. To someone unfamiliar with gemstones, the rock may look completely unremarkable, but under the right light, tiny clues begin to appear. Sometimes it is a faint blue shadow visible beneath wet stone. Sometimes the rock feels unexpectedly dense in the hand. In other cases, a partially exposed crystal edge catches sunlight for only a second before disappearing again beneath dirt and mineral stains. Those small details are often the only warning signs that something extraordinary may be hidden inside, and when the outer material is finally removed, the transformation can be startling. Deep blue crystal begins emerging from rough gray stone like something uncovered from another world. High-quality sapphire possesses a richness of color that photographs rarely capture accurately. The best stones seem almost illuminated internally, especially when light passes through natural crystal structure beneath the surface. That effect becomes even more dramatic when viewers remember what the rock looked like only moments earlier. Completely worthless. Sapphires also carry a psychological advantage few gemstones can match. People already understand their value. Unlike obscure minerals that require explanation, sapphire immediately signals rarity, luxury, and importance. That recognition creates instant emotional payoff when the reveal happens. The audience does not need convincing. The contrast speaks for itself. An ugly stone becomes something collectors would protect inside a vault. But the deeper fascination comes from how random many discoveries truly are. Across different parts of the world, sapphires have been found during construction work, casual hiking trips, fishing outings, and ordinary walks near water. Again and again, the pattern repeats itself. A person notices something slightly unusual, and unknowingly picks up a hidden fortune, which makes every rough blue-gray stone along a shoreline feel just a little different afterward. Because sometimes life-changing discoveries do not arrive looking valuable. Sometimes they arrive covered in mud. Number 4. Jadeite, the worthless stone, hiding imperial green inside. Few gemstones create a bigger shock between appearance and value than jadeite. In rough form, high-quality jadeite can look astonishingly unimpressive. Some pieces resemble faded concrete. Others appear like dirty riverstone coated in chalky mineral skin. Without polishing, the surface often hides nearly everything collectors are actually paying for. No sparkle. No dramatic crystal faces, no obvious sign of luxury, and yet hidden beneath that dull exterior can sit one of the most expensive green gemstones on Earth. That contradiction has confused people for centuries. In regions where jadeite-bearing boulders are found near rivers and coastal deposits, rough material is sometimes transported and traded while still completely sealed beneath weathered outer rock. Experienced buyers may spend enormous amounts of money on stones they cannot fully see inside, because with jadeite, the real value is often hidden several layers beneath the surface. The gamble becomes psychological. A rough gray stone may contain almost nothing, or a vivid interior glowing with the deep translucent green known as Imperial jadeite, the variety prized by elite collectors and historically associated with royalty status and immense wealth. What makes jadeite especially fascinating is how deceptive the exterior can become. Thin windows are sometimes cut into rough stones to inspect tiny portions of the interior color, but the majority remains concealed. A single glimpse of rich green hidden inside rough stone can completely change the estimated value of an otherwise worthless-looking rock. And even then, uncertainty remains. That uncertainty has fueled entire underground trading cultures around rough jadeite for decades. Buyers study texture, density, mineral patterns, and subtle color hints, attempting to predict what may be buried deeper inside. In some cases, ordinary-looking boulders have revealed interiors worth fortunes after cutting. In others, seemingly promising stones turned out nearly empty. That tension is part of what makes jadeite discovery stories feel so intense compared to other gemstones. The reveal itself can be breathtaking. Once polished, fine jadeite does not simply reflect light. It seems to hold it beneath the surface. The best specimens possess a soft internal glow that feels almost alive, especially when viewed against the rough, ugly shell they originally came from. The transformation feels less like polishing a gemstone and more like uncovering something hidden for centuries inside common stone. And perhaps that is why jadeite affects people differently than most gems. Because it challenges one of the oldest instincts humans have, the belief that something truly valuable should look valuable immediately. With jadeite, the opposite is often true. The less impressive the outside appears, the more dangerous it can be to underestimate what is hidden underneath. Number 3. Black opal, the dark beach stone, hiding explosive fire. Under cloudy skies, the stone looked almost completely dead. Its surface absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Wet sand clung to the dark exterior, and the rock itself appeared no more valuable than hardened asphalt washed onto the shoreline. Even among volcanic beach stones, it seemed unusually lifeless, heavy, black, and impossible to read from the outside, which is exactly what makes black opal so dangerous to ignore. Because hidden beneath that dark shell can exist one of the most visually explosive gemstones ever discovered. Unlike ordinary opals, black opal possesses a darker body tone that intensifies the colors trapped inside it. When light finally reaches the internal silica structure, flashes of electric blue, neon green, crimson red, and molten gold can erupt across the surface all at once. The effect is so dramatic that some specimens appear artificial even when viewed in person. And yet before cutting, many black opal-bearing stones reveal almost nothing. That is part of what turned black opal into a legend among gemstone hunters. The reveal is rarely immediate. In rough form, the host rock often looks burnt, cracked, or completely unremarkable. Experienced cutters search for tiny color bars hidden beneath the surface, faint flashes visible only at certain angles for fractions of a second. Most people would never notice them, but to an expert, those microscopic bursts of color can signal enormous hidden value. Then the cutting begins. Layer by layer, dark material is removed carefully, exposing more of the trapped fire inside. And unlike the softer glow of gemstones such as jadeite or chrysoprase, black opal feels almost violent once fully revealed. The colors do not sit quietly beneath the surface. They shift, pulse, and explode under changing light conditions, creating patterns that seem alive. Some collectors compare the experience to staring into a thunderstorm trapped inside stone. That intensity is why exceptional black opals can reach astonishing prices, especially when the color distribution remains bright across large surfaces. Fine specimens are considered among the rarest opals in the world, and no two patterns ever form exactly alike. Every stone becomes visually unpredictable. But perhaps the most unsettling part of black opal is how completely the exterior hides the truth. There is no elegant warning sign, no obvious beauty waiting near the surface. Just darkness. Which means a person could stand on a beach surrounded by black stones for years, never realizing that one of them might contain a burst of color so rare and chaotic that collectors would spend fortunes trying to own it. Number 2. Alexandrite, the beach stone that changed color before people's eyes. The first reaction is usually confusion. In daylight, the stone appears greenish-blue, cold and subdued beneath natural light. But under warmer indoor lighting, the color begins shifting, slowly at first, before transforming into deep red or purplish crimson right in front of the viewer's eyes. The effect feels so unnatural that people encountering Alexandrite for the first time often assume something artificial is happening. But the phenomenon is completely real. And in rare cases, rough Alexandrite can remain hidden inside ordinary-looking mineral stone that gives almost no warning about what it contains. That is what elevates Alexandrite beyond ordinary gemstone discoveries. It does not simply reveal beauty once uncovered. It appears to change reality itself depending on the environment around it. Few gemstones create that kind of reaction. In rough form, Alexandrite-bearing material can appear cloudy, fractured, and surprisingly dull. Some pieces resemble weathered river rock, with muted color trapped beneath layers of mineral residue. Others show almost no visible hint at all until light reaches the crystal correctly. Even experienced collectors sometimes struggle to identify rough Alexandrite immediately because the famous color shift is not always obvious until the stone is cleaned, cut, or viewed under multiple light sources. Then the transformation happens. Under daylight, flashes of cool forest green emerge beneath the surface. Move the same stone indoors, and the color begins shifting toward red, sometimes dramatically. The stronger the shift, the more valuable the gemstone becomes. Exceptional Alexandrite specimens displaying vivid color changes are considered among the rarest and most expensive gemstones in the world. And that rarity has turned Alexandrite into something almost mythical among collectors. Part of the fascination comes from uncertainty. Human eyes are trained to trust color. A gemstone should remain stable when viewed from different angles or locations. Alexandrite breaks that expectation completely. The stone refuses to look the same twice. It behaves more like a living phenomenon than a fixed object buried inside rock, which makes discoveries involving rough Alexandrite especially unsettling, because from the outside nothing appears extraordinary. A person could hold the stone in broad daylight without realizing what it truly is. Only later, under a different lamp, inside a different room at a different moment, does the hidden transformation finally reveal itself. And by then, the ordinary-looking stone no longer feels ordinary at all. It feels unpredictable, almost impossible, as though the beach itself managed to hide a gemstone capable of changing its identity every time the light changed around it. Number 1. Emerald Crystal Pocket, the worthless beach rock. Hiding a fortune inside. By the time the stone was finally opened, nobody expected what was waiting inside. The exterior had already convinced everyone otherwise. Its surface was rough, faded, and heavily weathered by years of exposure near water and shifting sediment. The rock looked dense, awkward, and completely ordinary, the kind of object people step over on beaches without even noticing. There was no sparkle, no visible crystal edge, no dramatic color hint hiding beneath the surface. Nothing suggested treasure. Then the stone split apart. Inside sat a chamber lined with deep green emerald crystals growing directly from the interior walls like something preserved from another world. Light passed through the crystal edges with a glow so intense that the inside of the rock appeared almost illuminated. Against the dark, rough shell surrounding it, the contrast felt unreal. Less like a gemstone discovery and more like uncovering a hidden ecosystem buried inside stone. And that is what makes emerald crystal pockets so mesmerizing. Unlike polished emeralds already shaped for jewelry, crystal pockets preserve the raw formation exactly as nature created it. The emeralds remain attached to the host rock, frozen in place after millions of years of geological pressure, heat, and mineral-rich fluid movement beneath Earth's surface. Some pockets contain only a few small crystals. Others reveal dense green formations stretching deep into hidden cavities no one could have predicted from the outside. That unpredictability is where the fascination becomes almost obsessive. A worthless-looking rock can carry an entire crystal chamber concealed inside it for centuries. No visible clue, no warning sign, just ordinary stone hiding extraordinary structure beneath layers of mineral crust and weather damage. In some cases, collectors and miners have accidentally broken open rough material only to discover emerald formations worth astonishing amounts depending on color, clarity, and rarity. But the real emotional impact goes beyond price. Emerald already carries a reputation associated with royalty, power, and extreme rarity. Seeing those same vivid green crystals emerge from something that looked completely disposable creates a type of visual shock few gemstones can match. The reveal feels deeply unnatural, as though nature deliberately hid beauty in the last place anyone would think to search. And after seeing a crystal pocket open for the first time, something changes psychologically. Ordinary beach rocks stop looking ordinary, because somewhere beneath a cracked gray surface shaped by waves and time, there may still be another hidden chamber waiting untouched in the dark, filled with emerald crystals no human eyes have ever seen before. After seeing what was hidden inside these beach rocks, ordinary stones never look quite the same again. Some concealed glowing opals, others hid sapphires, emerald crystals, or colors that seemed impossible once the rock was finally opened. And in nearly every case, the outside gave almost no warning about what was buried underneath. That may be the most fascinating part of gemstone discovery. Nature often hides extraordinary things inside the most ordinary-looking stone. And somewhere along another shoreline, the next hidden fortune may still be waiting unnoticed among thousands of worthless rocks.